Hey there, it's Peter here from Full Spectrum Performance, and I don't know about you, but with my sourdough starter, sometimes I've just run out of ideas on how to use it, but one of the coolest ones that I've tapped into was using it for seitan. So today I'm excited to teach you how to prep seitan in 2 different ways using your sourdough discard. So let's get to it. Oh, and just look at that, I love it. So let's get started. Here we have 1.5 cups of vital wheat gluten, a 1/2 cup of nutritional yeast, and a 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour. For our seasonings, we have 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, cumin, chili powder, onion powder, paprika, then a 1/2 tablespoon of ground basil, ground oregano, and turmeric. And to conclude, a teaspoon of salt and black pepper. From here, we're just going to mix the dry ingredients together and ensure that they're really mixed up thoroughly. The seasoning is going to be half of the flavor profile, and the broth that it's going to be cooked in will add the other half. So just keep that in mind when you're adding your own spices and seasonings. If you remember the first seitan video I made, remember that vital wheat gluten loves liquid, so be sure to mix all the dry ingredients together thoroughly before you move on to the next steps. In our wet bowl, we have 1.5 cups of potent veggie broth with 2 tablespoons of low sodium soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of vegan Worcestershire sauce. Now, the extra special ingredient and change up from the OG seitan video is that we're adding our sourdough starter discard to this one. And as you can see here, just want to give it a good mix. So my sourdough starter discard weighs about 70 grams, and I've just fallen in love with this method because it adds such an extra hardiness and weight, that full flavor profile to the loaf of seitan itself. In addition, it makes all the gluten easier to process on the body. That's been incredibly fascinating to experience. So from here, just give it one good mix, and remember, the moment you add this liquid, it's going to start reacting and soaking it up. So just be sure to keep stirring and mixing. Get those extra bits stuck with the side of the spoon, and once it's all together, you can start to work it with your hands. For a simple kneading technique, take your palm and push it into the loaf of seitan, and then pull it back with your fingers, and repeat, push it back in. Once it gets wide, fold it up and repeat. The longer you knead, the denser and chewier the seitan will become, so just grab any leftover waste from the sides of the bowl and integrate that into the loaf itself. We're going to go ahead and knead this for about 10 minutes, but a good rule of thumb is to knead it enough until it starts pushing you back a little bit, and it becomes pretty difficult to fold and press. Now, for the whole wheat, there is a lot where you can change the flavor and texture by changing it with different flours. I generally use whole wheat because it gives it the most dense texture and a solid flavor. But that's when you could also use garum flour, rice flour, or any type of alternative to change the flavor and texture yourself. Just go ahead and play with it if you're interested. And it smells so nice already. Now our kneading and shaping is complete. We're just going to go ahead and weigh this so you can get a good vibe of what we're looking at in terms of the seitan size. And it's going to make you about 813 grams of seitan. All we're going to do now is just allow this to rise and hang out for at least an hour so the starter can do its thing and help the gluten fibers form. Full disclosure, I left this sitting for 5 hours for the time of prep. Largely because I had stuff to do, and it's a sourdough starter, and I like to treat it like any other loaf of bread that I make, so it can fully eat and get that extra flavor and fullness of the gluten. And now the fun part, we're going to prep this 2 ways. We're going to grab some vegan butter and coat the inside of whatever dish or pan you're looking to use for the bulk of it. Keep in mind, the seitan is going to take the shape of whatever dish you use. I like this flat square one because I'm going to be making some vegan bacon and some steak bite cuts. But if you're looking for a meatloaf, go ahead and put it into the loaf pan. And to show you that second technique, we're going to go ahead and rip off a little portion to demo with. Ooh, look at that nice and developed gluten strands. That's exactly what you're looking for in your seitan loaf. Now with the rest of this, we're just going to add it to the pan, shape it into it. It's not going to quite cover the full pan since I did take some out, but I got to do it for the viewers. There's no mistakes with your loaf. Again, it's that Bob Ross happy little accidents when you're cooking. Don't worry about it. Now with each batch, you're going to go ahead and cover it with 1.5 cups of veggie broth, or just enough to cover the top of your seitan loaf. Just make sure your oven is preheated to at least 425 degrees by the time you add the liquid, and we're going to go ahead and cook this covered for about 45 minutes. With the leftover broth, we're going to go ahead and take this and add it to a medium-sized pot and add some water to it for that second cooking method, and bring the pot to a boil. In the meantime, while your liquid is getting ready to boil, let's go ahead and divide those seitan bites. I like to break them into about 30 grams per piece, so that chunk made up about 5 pieces. From here, you're going to want to shape them, and this is going to be a little nugget or tender style. We'll check back on the broth once it's boiled. Now this is officially boiling, so we're ready to go. Our total cook time for each piece is going to be about 15 minutes once it's dropped into the liquid. I recommend flipping them halfway through to ensure even cooking on both sides. Now that our cooking liquid is boiling, we're just going to reduce the heat slightly to a medium high so things don't boil over. Now that everything is cooking, let's go ahead and make a quick breading to make these seitan nuggets extra delicious. And here we go, our second method have finished cooking, so let's strain them and let the juice come out. Ooh, look at those baby nuggets. Just ensure that you get any remaining liquid out of the bowl and turn the heat off. Let that cool and you have some extra flavorful veggie broth again, just to save for later and delicious meals for the future. While these are still damp, let's go ahead and bread them up. Let's start off by making a little well with your breadcrumbs. Now these breadcrumbs are already seasoned, and a lot of it's actually made from the sourdough crumbs that I've made from previous loaves, in addition to some crushed seeds for that full, fatty, and meaty flavor profile. Be sure to subscribe because I'll be coming out with the sourdough recipe tutorials in addition to some of these bomb breadcrumbs that I make. Depending on how long you waited, for myself I didn't wait that long. These nuggets are pretty hot, so I'm going to work kind of quickly here. From here you're just going to use the natural juices from the seitan nuggets to get the breading attached to it. And then all you got to do is just make sure it's evenly coated. Now I like to do something special for you. So if you're looking to make these seitan nuggets, now cutlets packed with extra flavor, this is where you can add a sauce to the mix. I'm going to go ahead and make these buffalo style, so it's time to bring out the hot sauce. I like Frank's hot sauce for the buffalo tang, but feel free to add whatever you like to your mix. Just toss one of the breaded cutlets and add it to the sauce and then rebread it. And you can do this with whatever type of sauce you want, so do it up. With our cutlets, we're going to go ahead and add them in the oven, just to let them crisp up a little bit while we take the cover off of the bigger loaf that's cooking. Oh, and just look at that, I love it. Now without using the sourdough starter, it's not going to grow as much, but regardless, it's going to rise. We're just going to let this cook without a cover on for about 10 minutes while we add our buffalo seitan cutlets onto that pizza stone. We're going to flip the cutlets and let those cook for another 5 minutes, and with this larger loaf, we're going to try to strain any remaining juices and flip it. You heard that right, so let's get to it. My preferred technique is to hold it with a spatula and let the juices drain back into the broth jar. Then go ahead and flip it with a spatula. Now throw this back in the oven for another 5 or so minutes. Now I went ahead and pulled these out since they're all done. I gotta try a little bit, but oh, so tasty. I'm gonna go ahead and eat these for dinner now, but with that, let's grab our larger seitan loaf. And as you see, the loaf is done, and how I like to let it cool is just take your cooling rack, place it on top, and flip! Easy squeezy lemon peasy, there you go, but oh, you already know I gotta grab that seitan crunchy bit on the side. Oh, so bomb. So just let this cool and the seitan loaf is going to set and firm up. But that's it, folks. You have seitan with your sourdough discard all done. If you want to see me make seitan bacon with these, go ahead and give this video a like, comment, share, but most importantly, enjoy. And you'll learn some more tasty recipes later. Take care. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, and if you can, please share and hit the subscribe button. Slam that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content from myself and Full Spectrum Performance. I love you so much. Let someone you know you love them. Take care.